Hello, welcome to my July wrap-up. I don't know if I've started this vlog because I don't think I've finished any books before the two that I'm going to talk to you about, but now I'm doubting myself. So hello, welcome to July. I've read 2 books so far in July, so let's talk about them. I need to look one up on my iPad on my Goodreads because I do not own it, but that is Blood and Steel. This is the first in the Legends of Thesmar series. I'm reading this for a vlog. I have a couple vlogs on the go, so most of these first few books that you'll see from me will be featured in vlogs that hopefully will go out before this, but they might not. This one is about Thea, who has this guaranteed death date in like 3 years. Time crunch to get where she wants to be in life. And in this world, women are not allowed to wield blades because of something that happened in the past. But she wants to become a warrior legend. So she's trained in secret her entire life. Now she's fighting to secure her place in the elite guild charged with the protection of the 5 kingdoms. The sparring and hazing of the new trainees border on deadly, but even more dangerous is her growing attention to Wilder Hawthorne, her unwilling warrior chaperone. All around them, schemes are afoot and darkness looms. Will Thea pass the perilous initiation tests and take her place as champion of Thesmar, or will the invading evil snatch away her dream before it starts? I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. It's definitely the beginnings of a story and the beginnings of learning about this world, but I really liked Thea and I really liked Wilder, and a lot of the side characters I really enjoyed as well. So the characters are a huge selling factor for this series for me. I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I listened to the audiobook and I really enjoyed the audiobook. I am going to continue on in this series eventually, but I am going to take a break from fantasy. Right now, I feel like I'm on the verge of burnout and I don't want to not like the rest of this series or other fantasy books simply because I just need a break from fantasy. I'm just feeling like all of them are starting to blend together, and a lot of the ones that I really enjoy have a lot of the similar tropes and like, oh, there's this girl that no one wants to give power to, but turns out she's the one that's gonna save this world. And she has a hot man with her, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love that. I just feel like I'm reading too much of the same and I'm not super in the mood for it. I don't know how to describe it. I'm just scared I'm gonna burn out and then not like certain books that normally I would like just because I'm in this mood. So I'm gonna pause on that series, but I really enjoyed it and I think it was just like a good way to be like, okay, this is where I need to pause for a little bit. About an hour ago, I finished Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson, the author of the Truly Devious series. And this one is about Marlo, who set a house on fire by accident back at home and now is dealing with a lot because of that. So she wants to get out of her town and is given this opportunity to go to Morning House and do tours there for its last and only summer that they're allowing people to do tours and to see this island. Back in 1932, there was a family that lived there. The dad was a really successful doctor doing very awful things, but he was trying to train his kids to be the best of the best, and he had really high standards for them and pushed them way too much to like basically make no mistakes, be the best at everything they do, eat nothing but like bland foods, follow everything he says, blah blah blah. Not great parenting. One day, suddenly the youngest son turns up dead and the oldest daughter dies as well. So they run away from Morning House and no one really talks about this accident. So when Marlo is there, she's learning about these deaths, and then she also finds out that her spot working there, she's taking up the spot of a boy that had died. and all the people that she's working with all have a previous friendship and knew this guy that died, and she's just the new girl. It's a mystery, but I would say there's no actual like looking into any mystery until about the halfway point of this, which was the downfall, because Truly Devious was mystery from the beginning. I loved that. I just thought there'd be more mystery because there are so many elements into this that align with going into a mystery. But there was no investigating for a really, really long time. And we were just like seeing their everyday life and going back and seeing small chapters about 1932. So that made it a little bit slower. I did want to keep reading it. I was interested in it. And I think the payout was okay. I don't know, the stakes didn't feel super high in this at any point. Maybe like one chapter, I guess. There's a big thing that happens. But yeah, it didn't really have me on the edge of my seat at any single point. So I'm probably gonna give this like a 3.5. I still enjoyed it, but the writing also felt a little bit clunky in this one for me compared to what I remember of Truly Devious. So it was okay. It wasn't bad. Just not as good as Truly Devious. So it is the 5th. So I finished a couple books early on in the month. I'm hoping to have a really successful reading month, so hopefully you'll see me back here very soon. The next day, and I finished another book. I read My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This is about the airplane flying over. This is about a husband and wife and family who seem perfect from the outside. They kill together. We see this from the husband's point of view, as we see how it started and how it has evolved into what it is now, and as investigations start for the girl that they have killed, what happens to their relationship and how they're trying to keep their facade and their relationship together, I guess. I don't know what to say because I don't want to go into too much. Dexter Meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith is what the blurb says. I ended up enjoying this. I'm giving it a 4 stars. It was a little bit long. Some of it was a little bit predictable, but I overall really enjoyed it. Both of the characters in this are awful. Obviously, they're murderers, but Samantha Downing does a really good job of making you kind of root for one of them. You question it because you're like, why am I rooting for this person? But I think that's a really good quality of her writing, because I'm like, wait, never mind, don't be rooting for either of them. But in the circumstances of this book, you kind of are anyway. So I enjoyed this one. I'm glad I finally read it. It's been on my TBR for a long time, and the audiobook was good. So I am currently working on I'm participating in Summerween, and so that's what some of these books will be for, that you'll be getting updates in, and I'm gonna have vlogs up for those, so those will hopefully be up way before this one, so I will link them as well to get my more in-depth thoughts on these ones. But this one was good. Hello guys, it is July 13th now. I don't know the last time I updated you guys, and I have read a ton because it's currently Summerween. I think I told you about maybe one of the books in this stack, but I have a lot to talk to you about, and 2 that I don't even own physically. So I think next then I read Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is about Ethan and I can't remember the other kid's name. Ethan and Billy, and during their childhood, they went and they slept in a tent in one of their backyards. In the morning, Ethan wakes up alone. There's a slash in the tent and Billy is nowhere to be found. Then this has happened when they're about 10, and now he's in his 40s, or he's 40, and he's back in his hometown, back at Hemlock Circle, which is this cul-de-sac that they live in. He's dealing with insomnia and bad dreams about that situation, while also feeling that there's some weird happenings happening in Hemlock Circle, and he's trying to dig into it because they've never known what actually happened to Billy. He starts kind of doing his own investigating based on these weird things that are happening. Billy always claimed that there was some supernatural weird stuff happening in the woods behind their house, behind Hemlock Circle, so now Ethan is kind of questioning that. So I enjoyed this one. This was actually my first Riley Sager, and I thought it was pretty good. Not like the, again, groundbreaking or anything, but I gave it like a 3.5. I liked the idea and the mystery itself. It was a 3.5 for me. Then I read Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This is about Grady Green, who is an author, and one day he's on the phone with his wife, and she says she sees someone on this highway basically laying there, so she gets out of her car to investigate and help, and she's never heard from again. She disappears, and then a year later, since Grady is dealing with grief, he hasn't been able to write a new novel, and so his I don't know if she's his agent, tells him to go to this little Scottish island where she has inherited this tiny house, and he can go write his new book there, and there he thinks he sees his missing wife. This one is really slow, and I think I probably would have maybe DNF'd it if I wasn't forcing myself to read it. I don't know if I would have DNF'd it or if it just would have taken me a really, really long time, but I was trying to read it fast for Summerween, so it definitely benefited from that. It wasn't bad. Some of the twists didn't make sense, and the twists were definitely ones where you wouldn't have guessed a lot of them because they didn't make sense. Some of them, I guess, sure. But I also just don't like some of the tropes in this. It's weird because this is a lot of like questioning what you saw and like feel you're going crazy, and that's somewhat present in The Middle of the Night, but I liked how it was done way better in that. And it was less questioning what you saw because you had it tangible in your hand, I guess. Like in that, baseballs kept rolling onto his lawn and he would have the baseball, so he knew he wasn't going crazy. This, he felt like he was going crazy from seeing things but also from hearing things, and I didn't really enjoy this one too much. It was okay, but wasn't the best, especially because I just read Daisy Darker by this author and loved it. I had higher expectations, I guess. Then I read The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell finally. I've had this one on my TBR for a long time. We follow quite a few people, and that's why I end up not loving this one. But we have Libby Jones, who was adopted, and she doesn't really know her history, but at 25, I think she finally is getting her inheritance, which is this house. But 25 years ago, police were called there with reports of a baby crying. When they arrived, they found a healthy 10-month-old safe and sound in the upstairs bedroom. In the kitchen, 3 dead bodies, all dressed in black, were seemingly posed next to a hastily scrawled note. The 4 other children reported to live there were gone. So there were so many names and people in this, I just got so confused and I kept zoning out. It wasn't really capturing my attention, but once it did, and once I started understanding where it was going, I enjoyed it more. So I did give this 3 stars. I don't foresee myself reading the sequel to this because there is weirdly a sequel. Actually, I know I don't know what it's about, but I have a feeling I know what it's about. But this was one of my lower rated Lisa Jewels. I do really like her books, and I did just buy another one by her, but this one wasn't my favorite. But I think this one has like pretty decent reviews, but whatever. I've had this on my TBR for probably since 2021, so I'm glad I finally got it done. I just have two more. The next one is not for Summerween, it's actually for a different vlog, but I read First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. We follow Aiden, who is a radio host, which people call in and kind of get some love advice. And he's really struggling with this because he's not sure that he really believes in love. But then he gets a call from I think she's like 12 years old-ish, talking to him and getting advice for her mother. Then we also have the mother. Her name is Lucy, and she is a single mom but has a really, really good relationship with her ex, like her daughter's dad and his husband, and I love their family dynamic. That was definitely a high point of this book for me. She catches her daughter on the phone with Aiden and then kind of takes over, and her interview goes viral, and it gets people to keep calling in and asking about her love life. So the radio station asks her to do kind of a segment with Aiden about that, and inevitably the two start getting feelings for each other, but they both have their hang-ups and not sure if that's actually what they want to do. So I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the radio aspect of it. I liked both of the characters. I will admit, when Lucy works at like a mechanic shop, and when they said that, I was like, oh my god, she's gonna be one of those girls that's like, I'm not like other girls, I work at I'm a mechanic, I can change your oil and I can tow your truck. And she can do that, but she's not acting like that or like saying it in that way. So that ended up being fine, but I was scared of what it could be. And yeah, I really enjoyed the relationships and the dynamics in this one. I give it 4 stars. I wasn't really expecting to enjoy this one that much. I knew other people were really enjoying it, but I've been having a hard time with just contemporary romance. There usually has to be something else with it. And I thought that that would fall into the tropes of stuff that I didn't like, but I really liked it. I read a similar book, 10 Rules for Faking It, I think it was called, and it has similar things. She like accidentally is live on the radio saying her struggles. She gets asked to do this series on the radio and ends up falling for someone who works for the radio, but I think this was done just like better and more interesting, and I liked less cringy, and I liked the characters more. If you liked that one, you'll like this one. And then finally, my last update for now is 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. This one is about 9 strangers who receive a list with just their name on it, and no one has any connections to each other. They can't figure out anything that would bring them to be on this list, and then slowly the people on this list, which includes an FBI agent, they each slowly are getting killed off, so they're trying to figure out what the connection is, or who obviously wrote this list and is killing people, who that is and why, and all the things, and catch them. This one was also pretty boring. Luckily I did listen to the audiobook for this one, so it did make it go by faster. I think if I would have been listening to, or if I would have just physically read this, probably would have taken me a really long time to read, because even the murders were pretty low-key and not that interesting in the nicest way possible. So this wasn't my favorite Peter Swanson, but I did like the premise. Pretty much the very end, the twist, we're made to think one thing about someone, and then it's actually the opposite, and I didn't really like that. I think they could have just kept it as what we thought happened. But yeah, it was fine, just not my favorite Peter Swanson, so I gave it 3 stars. But I got a good chunk of books off of my physical TBR this week. I will have another book to talk to you guys about. I have to finish another book today, but this is enough updates for now. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm having a good reading month. Even though nothing is really getting rated super high, I am having a good reading month. Hello, it is Monday, not January. I feel like I'm going insane. It's Monday, July 14th. And I finished another book today at work. It was a very quick audiobook. I think it took me, the library said it took me 2 hours and 45 minutes. But I saw this book in Indigo last Wednesday, I guess, when I was doing some shopping during Summerween. And so I put it on hold at the library, and then I got a Skip the Line hold very quickly. But that is Parents Weekend by Alex Finley. Alex Finley is definitely a hit or miss author for me. I think I've only read 3 actually. I've read The Night Shift, which I liked. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yes. If Something Happens to Me, I read not that long ago. I gave 3 stars. Maybe that was last month, to be honest. And then now Parents Weekend. So I've read a few, and so I guess I've only read 2. But this one's about a group of college students, and it's their freshman year, and it's Parents Weekend, so that all their parents are coming to visit. Their parents obviously fit into some different tropes. There's one that's like poor of the group because the mom's like a secretary at the college, one where the dad is a judge, one where the dad's like a surgeon, one where she's like a something governmental or something, I don't even know. These parents come, sorry it's so dark by the way, it's, if you can't hear the rain in the background, it is gloomy, stormy day. But the parents come and they all go to meet with their, like all the parents and all the kids to have a dinner because these people are friends. They're all going to have a dinner and none of the kids show up. And the parents have different levels of being worried. I'm sorry, I literally feel like I'm going cuckoo right now. My head is just like not here. And I don't know why I didn't turn this on before. Okay, some of them are like, oh, they probably just forgot about dinner, or their kids, like whatever, just go. But there's 1 or 2 that start kind of investigating, and by the next day they're worried because no one's heard from their kids. There's also, right at the beginning, another student had gone missing, and their parents are this girl's parents are trying to find her, but the school's like, oh, she always skips class, blah blah blah, and then she turns up dead. But they're fighting for people to start looking for her because they're worried about her, of course. So that's a subplot as well as like all the parents have their own kind of drama and families have their own kind of drama. So this one, the twist and who's doing the crime was awful. It was maybe awful's maybe rude or too harsh, but it was not really a twist. It was, I could have seen it coming very, very early, and yeah, I didn't really fall for any of like the red herrings, other possibilities. I thought it was very obvious. I did like the different dynamics of the parents and their families and all that kind of stuff. That was like the best redeeming quality, I guess. But yeah, that was about it. So I'm gonna give it 2 stars, which is not great, but I'll probably read something from Alex Finley again in the future. He's on thin ice, I guess. I feel like this was like so chaotic. I didn't realize how far gone my brain is right now. So sorry. But another book done. So we're doing good. I need a 5-star read. I need a 5-star read so badly. I feel it in my soul, but I just don't even know what would be 5 stars at this right now. Okay, even though I'm in a cuckoo mood, I guess, I forgot I didn't tell you that I finished this book. The day that I gave you all those updates, yesterday, maybe, I finished The Legacies by Jessica Goodman. I don't think I talked to you guys about it. So this one's about a bunch of high school students who go to this school called Excelsior Prep or something like that. It's basically just a bunch of rich people who get into really nice schools because they're rich, and it opens up a lot of doors, including the opportunity to become a legacy, which is an exclusive club, I guess, that once you get in during your senior year of high school, you're in forever. Basically like a nepotism club, because you have a million connections based off of this, and you don't really have to do anything to get into it for the most part. It's basically who you know and being rich, and that's most of the characters in this book, except we do have Tori, who was a scholarship student to Excelsior Prep. She was nominated to be a legacy. There's only like 5 or 6 a year, so it's not everyone that gets to be in this club, and it's from a bunch of different schools as well. But they do a bunch of stuff leading up to the ball, the legacy ball, to become legacies. We know from the beginning of the book that there is a death at the legacy ball. However, we don't know who died, how, whatever. Well, we do know that they fell from a balcony, but we don't know if it was them jumping off, a murder, or who died. But we slowly, like, as the story goes on, we get small chapters of them at the ball, and we slowly check people off the list of who it could be or who it isn't, as they're mentioned. And I enjoyed this one. This is my 4th Jessica Goodman book, and I think she's a good author, especially for YA mysteries. This wasn't the most groundbreaking YA mystery I've ever read, or best, but I did enjoy it, and it was like a quick, easy read that I definitely needed. This was my last book for Summerween, but I forgot to tell you guys about it, so yeah. I don't have like a ton of thoughts, but I enjoyed it. It was good. I just realized I don't think I've talked to you about at least the last book I read. I don't know, hopefully I'm not missing any other books, but I read Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I've definitely slowed down a bunch reading after Summerween. My life has been like chaotic the last few weeks, honestly, for the last while, but extra last couple weeks. I feel like I can't catch a break, and I can't get back on routine, so I'm really trying here. But I was trying to find something to read on the Skip the Line thing on my library and saw Survive the Night on there. So this one, I forget what our main character's name is. Charlie is being driven across the country because she needs to go back home. She is quitting school and just needs to get back home, and so she posts it on one of those things. This is set in like, I don't know actually when this is set, 80s or 90s, or I don't actually know. Before people had cell phones, and cell phones were just coming out. Anyway, so she posts that she needs a ride home on one of these boards at her school, and someone takes her up on the offer. She'll pay for some gas money, and they drive her. The catch is there's been a serial killer, the campus killer, on her campus, and the campus killer killed her best friend. So as this trip goes along, Charlie is starting to realize that maybe she's in the car with a killer. She thinks that he's realizing that she's catching on to him, and there's kind of some mind games there both ways. We do have Charlie as an unreliable narrator because she's had some mental health issues in the past, which is hard and complicated for me to know how I feel about that as a trope. It is interesting story-wise, I just don't know that it's great for representation, but I enjoyed this one. I actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to because people say that this was one of his worst ones. I don't think it was like groundbreaking or the most amazing, but I was just expecting to dislike it a lot more. I think the audiobook helped for sure. I listened to it very fast, so I think if you were reading it a bit slower, then that could be why it felt a little bit slower to people, but it didn't feel super slow to me, maybe just at a couple points. And obviously the main character is stupid and she's not, like, she has opportunities to get away and she doesn't get away, but it is because she doesn't trust, some of it's because she doesn't trust herself and her brain, which is the interesting part of that trope, I guess, and then part of it's just her being dumb. But we wouldn't have this book without that, I guess. It would have ended very quickly if she just listened to her gut the first time that she thought maybe I shouldn't get in a car with a random person. You just have to be okay with the characters being stupid. So I give this one 3 stars, I think. It could be like a 3.5. I didn't mind it, actually. And then I did get a new book today. My pre-order came in for this. It is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. This is a huge hardcover for YA. Unless this one's not YA, but I think it is. I think all of her books are. But it's normally $37. I pre-ordered this before I quit at Indigo, so I had my discount on it. I don't know what this one's, I forgot what this one's about, but I'm gonna read this soon and I'm gonna make a vlog dedicated to this. I like doing that for Holly Jackson's new releases. I've done it for most of them, or most of her releases, period. Jet is gonna solve her own murder. So I am excited for this. I have a couple more pre-orders to come in next week. This one wasn't supposed to come out until next week, and then the date moved up this week, or last week I got an email saying the date moved up. So I have 2 pre-orders that come out next Tuesday. July is a busy month for good releases, so watch out for the vlog with this one. Okay, hello, it is July 29th and I finished another book. This is actually on my August TBR, so am I cheating for that? Maybe a little bit, but I also, who cares? It's not that serious. I read The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This one is set in 2 timelines of 18th century. We have Nella, she sells poisons to women in her area, basically to kill bad men. Then a precocious 12-year-old named Eliza Fanning comes into her life and they develop this bond which sparks a string of consequences that echoes through the centuries. And then our current timeline, Caroline she is dealing with some stuff from her relationship and she already has this planned trip to London, so she ends up going. She kind of gets pushed into this tour thingy. I forgot what it's called, what she's actually doing. It's not really a tour, but where she finds a clue about these unsolved apothecary murders, and she kind of just goes down the rabbit hole and finds herself being connected to Nella and Eliza. So I've had this book on my TBR for like 4 years, I think. I think I got it right when it came out in 2021. But I just listened to the audiobook for it. I did like the audiobook, definitely would recommend. I'm gonna give this one 3 stars, maybe it's like a 3.5. I don't know if I would have liked it as much if I read it completely physically. There were some like lulls in here, but it wasn't bad. I'm glad I finally read it. I don't think I'll be keeping this, but I'm gonna see if my mom wants it because I think at one point she was interested in reading it. It's just not a book that I feel like I need to ever reread or like that I love enough to just have a book trophy for, but it was good. I liked the murder aspect without it being like a mystery, typical like thriller murder, I guess you could say. There was some twists in here I was not seeing coming. Caroline's story is interesting. She took us on a roller coaster. Her husband, garbage, and I wasn't sure what was gonna happen with that. There was a lot of men letting people down in this book, but how's that different from life? Let's be honest. I really don't have that much to say. I liked the ideas of it and the dual timelines. It wasn't exactly how I thought they were gonna be connected because of how it says Caroline's upended present soon collides with an explosive history, binding her fate to Nella and Eliza's in a stunning twist that transcends the barrier of time. I don't know, I just thought it was going to be slightly different with that. Not in a bad way, but I liked how it turned out. So I read that one. I also literally 2 minutes ago just finished Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I haven't even put the dust jacket back on it. But I don't actually know what I'm going to rate it. This is her newest release. I think actually I mentioned it in this vlog because I hauled it, but it's about Jet, who is attacked on Halloween night, and when she wakes up, doctors say she's got about a week to live because of this aneurysm that is going to burst in her head, in her brain. She technically could have this surgery to try and stop that, but she had like a less than 10% chance of surviving it. So she had to choose between that, getting the surgery, or just like kind of knowing that her time, the clock was ticking for her to die. So I think that is the only reason that this is an adult book. I could be wrong. Like it read pretty similarly to Holly Jackson's YA books. It didn't really feel like an adult book, other than her getting to make the decision if she had the surgery or not, and I don't know, like the death that looms over this book. But it felt pretty similar to her YAs. Like the main character Jet she was 27 and she wasn't like that mature, but I enjoyed this. I actually really enjoyed it, and I liked the twists. The part of the final twist I did guess, so I'm proud of myself. I kind of guessed that really early on as an option, but not how it all developed, or there was so much more to the twist than what I guessed. So it wasn't super obvious. There was lots of red herrings and possibilities, and I really enjoyed that. I always enjoy her books, so I'm not really surprised that I enjoyed this one. It was sad as well. I teared up at one point, so I really enjoyed this. I just can't decide if I want to give it like a 4 or a 5 star. I might just have to read some reviews and see what I'm thinking. I don't really have a reason not to give it 5 stars. It definitely, I think if I had to give it a rating right now, it'd probably be a 4.5, but I don't even know why, because I don't know what I would mark it down for, you know? So I'm not sure, but I read this in a few days, which right now I'm busy, so the fact that I made time to physically read this pretty fast is a good sign. I'm gonna hopefully have one more book for you guys in this vlog. I started a Stephen King book today, 11/22/63, I think it's called. It's like the JFK one. It's a really long audiobook. It's 31 hours at regular speed, but it should be like, I think it's 30 and a half. It should be like 12 or 13 hours maybe at my speed. I don't know. Or I listened to a quarter of it today. So I'm hoping maybe I can finish it in the next 2 days before the month ends. I might even put it in this vlog if I finish it on the 1st. We'll see. But I'm I'm thinking I'll come back to you one more time for one more book update for July. So the last book I finished in July, well, technically I finished it on August 1st because I had like 2 hours left in the audiobook. I'm gonna count it as a July book because I read a majority of it in July. 31 hours is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This is my first Stephen King book. I think I tried to read Holly back when that one came out a few years ago, but I DNF'd it because it had stuff to do with COVID, and I don't really particularly like reading about COVID. It still feels too soon. So let's talk about this one. On November 22nd, 1963, 3 shots rang out in Dallas. President Kennedy died and the world changed. Unless in 2011, Jake, an English teacher from Lisbon Falls, Maine, sets out on an insane and insanely possible mission to prevent the Kennedy assassination. Leaving behind a world of computers and mobile phones, he goes back to a time of big American cars and diners, of Lindy hopping, the sound of Elvis, and the taste of root beer. In this haunting world, Jake falls in love with Sadie, a beautiful high school librarian. As the ominous date of 11/22/63 approaches, he encounters a troubled loner named Lee Harvey Oswald. Here's one of the things about this book and about why I think people don't like this book partly, is because that is like the ending part of the book. There is so much that happens before that even is close, because the time travel portal thing always takes you to, I think it's like 1958 or something, 59 maybe. So it takes you years before this event. And so Jake has to live these years in the past before he can get to right before the Kennedy assassination. He is told about this portal by someone else who has been there before, and it turns out that going in this portal, while it feels like years for whoever's in this time travel, when you come back to 2011, it's been like 2 minutes. So this person who finds the portal ends up asking Jake to do this for him, for the world, for everything, to stop this assassination, and Jake takes on this task. But Jake also has his own event that he wants to stop for someone who means something to him. So he goes back in time the first time and tries to stop this one event from happening, goes back to 2011 and sees the repercussions and the butterfly effect of what he stopped and how it ended up. That's his first real exposure to the butterfly effect and what crazy changes could happen due to that, and how he maybe needs to adjust his strategies, because once he goes back in time, it X's out everything that he had done. So what he changed previously is back to what it was originally, if that makes sense. So he goes and redoes his personal mission, and then he stays in the past and lives this whole other life. Like it mentions, he falls in love with this lady named Sadie, and he has all these other friends. He's a teacher. He is trying to not interrupt basically the time-space continuum, and like do that as little as possible. So he's not trying to make a big imprint on the world, because as he saw, little changes can change a whole ton of things. But he is living a life, and he is meeting people, and he's having an effect on people. So we see that and how that affects him and how that affects the other people in the world, and also the timeline in the future. And then a bit of it is about stopping the JFK assassination, and that part was interesting. But if you're going into it just for that, that is a really small part of the book. Not really small, but a smaller part of the book. everything leading up to it is in part because of this, but there are years where he's doing nothing to do with the JFK assassination. So if you're going into it just for that, you might not like this one. And that was originally the part that drew me towards it, and that is a part of the book that I liked or one of the parts that I liked the most about this book. But it's a long book to read just for that, I will say. There were really high highs of this book that I really enjoyed. There's parts that probably were 5 stars, but there were parts of this that were 2 stars, 1 star, super boring DNF times. So you kind of got to be in it to be in it. I had the 7-day skip the line hold for this at my library. And if I didn't have that short time to read it, I maybe would have spread it out a little bit more because there were parts that I was getting bored. But overall, I did enjoy this. I think I gave it 3 stars just because of that balancing of the 5-star moments with the 1-star moments. It's maybe like a 3.5. But this is one of the only like Stephen King's that I'm actually interested in reading. So I don't know how many more I'll read. I'm sure there'll be other ones, but this one was the one that stuck out to me because of the JFK premise. But I enjoyed it overall. It wasn't bad. Wasn't my favorite, but it was quite good. So that was the last book in July that I read. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give it a big thumbs up. Both those would mean the absolute world to me. And comment down below what you read in July, and if you've ever read any of the books I mentioned throughout this video, let me know what you thought of them. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!